All right, it's the beginning of the year and it's a little bit of a slow news day, which kind of got me thinking. I suspect that there's going to be a lot of slow entertainment news days in the future because you look at like what's upcoming on the horizon that people are going to get behind, like Mission Impossible, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a few standouts, and then you look at all the other offerings and you go, yeah, these movies are all going to be bomb. They're all going to lose money. Why are you making these movies that almost certainly are going to lose money? Shut up, bigot. Anyway, but then I heard this conspiracy theory or this idea from someone, which really kind of got me excited, got me started me thinking. Where the guy said Disney firing Gina Carano was the last nail in the coffin because people kind of finally understand that Disney is evil, and they tie it in like BLM, grooming kids. That they wanted Biden, they got Biden. Now the economy is absolutely destroyed. Thanks inflation, or Federal Reserve 1913, and they got like all the issues that came along with the health issues over the past year with the response to it. They wanted that heavy response. It's like, well, how do you think that response is going to affect everything? Oh, we don't have to worry about it. We'll just print more money. Okay, what do you think the consequences of that are? Oh, you say that causes inflation? Yeah, that's kind of it. There's no magical money tree. It just turns back into paper unless it's backed by something tangible. Anyway, so was firing Gina Carano the last nail in the Disney coffin? Think about it, what it did. The Supreme Court says it has a chilling effect on free speech. Yeah, that's the point. It sends a message to everybody. Get on board the Marxist agenda or get out. The real issue about all of this is how fast the window is moving left. Even with when all this Gina Carano stuff came out a couple years ago, the country wasn't as whacked out as it is now. Where I look at it now and think like, yeah, if you're in Hollywood, you have any social media footprint, and you're either neutral or vaguely on the right at all, like if you're anything other than a far left wing whack job, you've no place on being on social media at all. It could only hurt you. You can't even remain neutral, as Gina Carano and Taylor Swift found out. Taylor Swift was legitimately on the left, but she didn't want to get into it on social media. The left-wing Twitter commie kids will compel you to take stands to say all cab or any other kind of like, teenage nonsense that they think is so important to them. You can't just remain neutral. They will openly say comics, movies, social media platforms have to be used to push this far left agenda. So think about like if and I look at Hollywood and think, like if you're not a far left wing whack job now and you're like thinking about you're into acting, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say like don't get into acting, but you're gonna have to learn. It'd be like being in college now. It's like to keep your head down, I guess. Though I mean, that's what people used to say back in the 90s in college. Like, yeah, just keep your head down. Just get in the sciences and the liberal arts classes you have. Just don't bother arguing with people. Just be neutral. And like back then, you legitimately could be neutral. It was different. Now I kind of think it's gone full circle where I say like, yeah, you might as well take a stand and start arguing. Like, don't just get in there and get your degree and get out. It's like, take a stand. I mean, because like none of this changes unless people like kowtowing and acquiescing to these people is what got us here. Because people, it's like how did the Trump surprise in 2016 is people were just pretending to be neutral. So now look at it like, yeah, if you're in college, you might as well like start up some kind of clubs and do all this kind of thing. It's like it's finally to the point where there is something worth fighting for, and you really have to fight for it. I mean, otherwise you look at where the country is going like, ooh, it's in the deepest where old people are going, oh, thank God I'm old and I won't be around to see it. It's just like, yeah, what about your offspring or the offspring of your other tribe members who have to live the consequences of you doing nothing? Anyway, so I heard somebody say that line casually and then started to think about the change in the public perception about Disney over the years, how across many fronts, from movies to streaming shows to their social media presence, how they've changed their company to push a toxic globalist agenda to create a Disney that is unrecognizable, especially if you remember the 80s and 90s. Disney was a whole different world. Gina Carano was in The Mandalorian, which felt like the last chance for Disney to try to turn things around, and how they shocked people with their casual disregard for one of their actors, and then the public insult, where they try to say that she said something she didn't say. Her post is out there. You can interpret it any way you want, but they when they interpret it, it's like they straw man something into this. Every argument they have is a deflection or a straw man or an ad hominem, because they literally cannot deal with the facts on the table. It's like the the lobster guy talking to that English interviewer. So everything she said was, so what you're saying is, ma'am, I said what I said, and what you're doing is nose a straw. So what you're saying, you're reforming the argument into something that you can more easily attack. Disney did not feel like a professional company. It felt like it was being run by children. So what happened? The start of the woke public change was in 2015 with the start of Disney Star Wars trilogy, which was absolutely horrible. And then add insult, you had Sony's Ghostbusters in 2016. But people saw it to complete the Star Wars movie universe, which started in 1977 with the very excellent A New Hope. Then Solo came out after the end of the Disney stuff. Or wait, did it come out in between the last movie or something? Anyway, it actually bombed, which is surprising for Disney and the Star Wars brand in general, because Disney should have been printing money with Star Wars toys, should have been all out, going crazy, but they deliberately decided not to be successful. They were going to die on the hill of woke. But then Mando came out, and it had a vibe that starts to go back to the 1977 vibe. It was a simpler tone. You had a guy in armor. He's going on smaller adventures. The sets and costumes all got people back into Star Wars a little bit. Then Gina Carano comes on, and people assumed that she'd be a purse puppy Mary Sue, but she caught on with people. And as it turns out, social media is only allowed for left-wing views, or else you'll get fired. This is during the big pronoun push, which is compelled speech, and forces a conflict that didn't exist before. What happens if somebody wants to stick to biologically accurate pronouns? What social media and the rise of the participation trophy generation of commie kids has taught us is that the age of reasonable people disagreeing without being disagreeable is over. That was back in the days pre-social media, where children were not taken seriously. You can't have 70 years of government schools and globalist media propaganda and get to any place other than where we are right now. What the nightmare glasses, and nothing has changed at all. So imagine being in high school now and telling your blue-haired cat lady teacher that you'll only use biologically accurate pronouns because the whole thing's a Frankfurt School Bolshevik plot to cause conflict over nothing. Imagine forming a club in school for White Lives Matter, or Club Europa for the marginalized and oppressed people of Europe, or something similar. Whatever other groups set up. It's like just make it for your group. Which it's technically is your constitutional right to do with a state-funded property. Usually the courts have ruled that if a state property opens the doors to clubs, and it may not engage in viewpoint discrimination. So if you have a Satanist club, it opens the door for a Christian club, which is a lot of fun. Or a Black Lives Matter club. It's like then you can have White Lives Matter and all the other kind of stuff. Imagine forming a club that talked about the evils of Bolshevism and the modern-day globalists. The brainwashed kids would literally resort to physical violence because they don't know how to speak. They don't know how to engage in ideas and discourse, and which is a disservice to them, because when you take away words, you're left, it's the three boxes, you're left with the ultimate box. They've been generationally brainwashed into believing that the right wing is the greatest evil known to man because their teachers are brainwashed communists. They literally created a conflict where none existed before because that's what globalists do. They foment discord to keep people off balance and busy fighting. Anyway, Gina puts beep as her pronouns, which seem to be as accurate as the rest of the neo-pronouns, so I'm not quite seeing the issue there, but it also upset the perpetually outraged commie kids. Are they really upset? No, but they need something to virtue signal. Oh, we're the marginalized and oppressed, and my friends are BLT poxwalks otherkin. Yeah, you're just a teenager who wants attention. That's. Oh, I guess that is true. Yeah. Because here's the thing: we were all teenagers once. Also, everyone goes through that phase of you just want attention. I mean, the best thing you could do is just read. Just get off social media and read the classics. Those old Greeks from 2,000 years ago. Yeah, that would be a great place to start. Anyway, looking at Disney now, they push this left-wing agenda, grooming kids in Florida, BLM, burning cities, the whole health issue over the past 3 years, and the wearing panties over your face, or the other health issue stuff, pushing for Biden. And now the results of everything they pushed are before them. Disney is a dying brand, which would have been inconceivable a few years ago. When you think of Disney, you don't think of family friendly. You think of fights in their parks. That is really something they're going to have to find a way to get a hold of, and I don't know how they're going to get a hold of that. I mean, the only thing you do is you got police in the park. You have to arrest everyone there, get their IDs and names, and permanently block them from the park. And then you have facial recognition scans and I don't know. I mean, you'd have to like you cannot have fighting in a family friendly theme park at all. That has to be absolutely prohibited, and it's been creeping up over the years, which is weird because um, the parks cost quite a bit to get into, and you get people who are paying all that money to get to these parks, and then they get there and they fight. That's not that doesn't quite make sense to me. Anyway, woke films that are not worth your time and money is what you think of with the modern Disney. Now their old stuff, going back to the 1940s with Fantasia and the old um, God, that was such a just it was such a different world and a better world. That all that old stuff is VPN and a couple external hard drives, some micro SD cards. It's like you have everything you need. So ask yourself, Bob Chapek or Iger, it doesn't matter. And keep in mind, it's like, oh, Chapek screwed up. Iger set all these forces in motion, and Chapek was there for a year, and then now Iger's coming back. It's like, okay, so he has to deal with the consequences of his own actions that he set in motion for years. It doesn't matter who's at the helm, because you saw with the video conferencing call with the people who worked at Disney, you saw how woke they are. Like they are legitimately insane. They're talking about their kids and their kids' sexuality and stuff, and like these are the people who are in charge of this massive, massive entertainment company and theme park. It's insane. It's like they're given the keys to this massive vehicle, and they're just running it over a cliff, and the whole time they're patting themselves on the back. So how does Disney turn this around? Can they just stop the woke and create family-friendly content? Oh, absolutely. Of course they could, but they won't. Doomcock has a line about the war to save pop culture, and I look at that, and like, he's a great channel and all, but it's such a ridiculous thing because you realize like it's not worth saving, but it's also a deeper issue that there is no culture in America because it's been turned into a commercial zone of corporate-run strip malls and homeless tent cities where your morality is coming from government schools and globalist media through generational brainwashing over the past 50 years. It's like pop culture is, it's this series of interconnected spider webs coming from the culture of the people itself, and you look at the culture, it's like it's just a commercial zone country. There's nothing here. There's no there. She said about Gertrude Stein said about L.A. It's like, yeah, that is spread to the whole country. It's just a strip mall, a Burger King, America, where if you're no longer useful, Canada is showing you what they do with people who are no longer useful. America has a slightly different method, but I won't get into that in YouTube. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys on the next episode.